Hello there, this is RomWills coming back at you with yet another smartphone office video. The great icon chase, the male selection criteria. You know what? I was trying to think about what I was going to do this morning. I was actually going to do something that would have really hurt some feelings. And I said, nah, I ain't going to do it. I'm just not in the mood. Now, when I do something that hurts some feelings, yeah, I'm in the mood then. But I was going to talk about the great icon chase slash the male selection criteria. And that's something I hadn't talked about in a while. Because usually, if I hadn't talked about something, I'll do a search through my archive, see if I talked about it. I hadn't talked about it in 8 years. And I talked about the male selection criteria in a video 8 years ago, and I put a link for it in the description box. And basically, everybody knows I talk about the female selection criteria, rather. You know how they divide men into select and non-select. And, even some guys I ask about that, it was like, no, select the guys they want to have sex with, non-select the guys they don't. And ours, we have one too. Men, we have one too. But see, we're not as lucky as we're luckier. Let me just say it like that. We're luckier than the women because women, they'll compare a man to another man, a live person. But see, when we have our selection criteria, we're comparing women to an icon. We want that perfect 10. I'm gonna tell you what. Let's just be real. Now I'm known for talking about just be realistic out there, but if I'd said, "Oh, this is just how you can get beautiful women," and just talked about that, that's all guys would care about. Let's just be real with it. If a guy wanted a woman, he can get a woman out here. Let's just be real. There's nothing but a surplus of women. But is there a surplus of women who are tens? And in fact, I've had guys hit me up saying, well, they just want that 10, that dime, even though that's like 1% of the population. But that's actually normal. See, some guys, they just take what they can get. Even though and they might get that woman who might be plain face and ordinary body, but deep down, they want that fine woman. Let's just be real. Even in that video I did 8 years ago, I mentioned a lot of these guys who are going overseas. They're really looking for that very beautiful woman. Let's just be real. Let's be real. They can get a woman right here, but they chasing that icon. And see, that icon changes every few years. Whoever the most beautiful woman is consensusly, that's the icon. Whoever the beauty contestants are, those are the icons. And a lot of men want those. But see, a lot of men can't get those. Because to get those, that's when you really have to be up there. You gotta be that 1% man, as some content creators have talked about. You gotta be up there. You gotta be looking good and have that money. Indeed, when some men get that level of money, that's what they want. If a man go up here and make 6 figures, he wants that very beautiful woman. Because it's kind of funny to me, you get these women who come up talking about they want some 6-figure man. And no, they ain't going to get them. You can take one look at them and say they ain't going to get them. Because if a guy's making that much money, he wants the fine woman. He wants the icon. He wants that beautiful woman. That's just how it is. That is just how it is. In fact, if he making that much money, he got an ordinary woman, he's clowned. Now, yeah, you got some billionaires, they might get some ordinary woman for some business reason or something, or, to have kids with. And that's cool. But there's only a few of them. Most of them, they going to have a beautiful woman. In fact, that's when you get those escorts, those real fine escorts. Part of their thing is they're beautiful. They are beautiful. They can, as Russell Wilson would say, tilt the room. Indeed, that's why somebody like a Russell Wilson, to get somebody like Sierra, whether she had somebody's child or not, she could tilt the room because he going for that icon, want those beautiful women. But let's just be real with it. Most guys ain't gonna get that. See, an ordinary woman, she might can get a select man if that guy's a Mr. Goodbar, because he ain't nothing but a man hoe anyway. She could probably get it as long as she ain't doing something, or some you get some of these women say, "Well, I got that guy." It was like, is that guy taking you out with him? No. As long as it's just sex, a woman could get that guy. But if she wants a bit more, oh, that ain't happening because she ain't on his list. For a woman to be that select woman, for a woman to be that icon, oh well, she need to look like whatever woman is held up as being beautiful. In fact, let me shout out cousin T-Taw. He did something recently, and he had held up Lori Harvey, and I could see that. I could see that. In fact, that's why sometimes you get some of those movie stars, those big name people. They ain't gonna have anybody unless they gonna meet that very beautiful woman. And then even when they go on parties or they go on those yacht trips or whatever, there's nothing but beautiful women there. In fact, let me shout out Master Teacher BGS when he talk about 100 octanes. Those the women who can get those guys, those like top level guys. And it's the only thing about them is they will get to a level. They let's just say they not gonna stay at that level for a long time. There is a definite wall with them. Most women, if they like a dime when they 22, they ain't gonna be a dime when they 32. Then most of them gotta just get who they can get. In fact, I was watching a 3-on-3 game, and I ain't gonna call the player's name, but I knew he was the father of this one young lady who was dealing with this woman's child, and she's now dealing with this other NBA player. But I remember when it was said he was the father of her child. Those women, shit, they know it. Because once women get in that icon status, they pretty much stay there. They do what they have to do. Hell, it starts when they're in high school. When you get the high school divas, the prom queens, the head cheerleaders, that's where they pretty much start. And guys are trying to get them. In fact, let's just be real with it. When we talking about man gets woman, especially in these spaces, these guys deep down want icons. If all I said was say, this is how you can get an icon, boom. Because like I said earlier, ladies, guys, they can get an average woman. And if they stay in their lane, they can be happy. But a lot of guys don't want to stay in their lane. Indeed, some guys who would be considered incels, let's just be real, they want that dime. But they ain't going to do it. They ain't not going to do it. Because to get those women, that's when you have to look like supermodel of the world. The male supermodel of the world. That's when you have to have a lot of money. Indeed, when you get a lot of these guys saying, well, it takes money, you know what? It's right for them. Because those women who are icons or who could match that icon, very beautiful, very fine. In fact, like I said, I was watching one of those 3-on-3 games with ex-NBA players. And I was looking at the cheerleaders. I was like, oh yeah, those are icons. I wonder how many of them are hooking up with the players. That's the level you got to be at. I mean, in fact, cousin T-Taw, he had did some stuff about that. And the minimum level is like those IG women. That's the minimum level. That's the minimum level. But see, they ain't gonna get it. And in fact, like I said, you get guys up here, shoot, they'll pay to get with those women. They want to know how they can get with them. In fact, they ain't gonna listen to somebody like me. Because, what am I saying? I'm saying just be realistic about what you can get. Now, if you want to get that top woman, yeah, you better have your body better be up there. Your body better stand out. Your looks better stand out. You better have that money. You better have that environment. That's how deep that shit is. And you got a lot of these women. Let me talk about the women. Like I said earlier, you get these women talking about they want some six-figure man, or they want a man making all that money. Baby girl, no, they not gonna. No, you're not gonna get it. They not gonna get it. They not gonna get it because they don't match the icon. They better get that ordinary, hardworking guy who generally wants them. Because every man ain't, you get a group of men. They gonna be realistic. They ain't gonna chase that icon down because they know that's not where they at. That's not where they at. That's not what they want to do. And that's cool. They realistic. But like I said, you got a whole bunch of guys, they would rather be single. They would rather be single, or they trying to figure out how to get those type of women. Even though they might not even live in a situation where they're going to get those women. Like, I would say this, for them to even fantasize about it, one, they probably need to move from wherever they're at. They need to be in that situation where they're around those type of women. And then they need to look like something. They need to look like something. Shoot. They need to be sharp. When I talk about the barber bless you, nah, you paying the barber about $200. Shoot, you wearing the sharpest clothes. You got to be up there. Like, I ain't into all that 1% man and stuff, but let's just say you got to be top notch to get one of those icons. And those icons, they change. They going to change every few years. There's going to be a top woman. There's going to be a woman at the top every few years. And the guys who get them going to be top. And even those guys who got money who get them, I would just say to those guys, double back home one day. There was a young lady who sent me one of those videos about a double back home just real quick. And she had a muscular man like right under her bed. Her husband come in, throw her some money, she'd chill. The muscular man would come from under the bed, do his thing. She was right though. But that's how it is. That's how it is. And that's something women need to take in consideration. The women trying to get like these top men. That's what some men need to do if they really want the top women. They need to improve. If they living in their mama's basement or something like that, they ain't making money like that, they ain't turning heads themselves, they might as well get a regular woman who generally wants the ass. But if they just if they really want that icon, they really need to self-improve. Yeah, that's another thing too. You get those guys talking about, I don't want to self-improve. Well, don't be chasing the icon then. If you don't want to self-improve, yeah, get that regular woman that working at that dollar store or something. Or that woman's working on that regular job who ain't looking like all of that. And I'm dead serious. In fact, you get some women, I would say there's some women, they ain't quite ordinary, but they ain't quite at the top yet. Those are women, have you noticed those are women who be single, chronically single, and you be like, damn. Like, I would say they above average. I would say maybe a good 6 or 7. They in a weird place because they don't want a regular guy, but they ain't fine enough to qualify for a top man. And that's because of that icon thing. Because if a man is able to exercise the male selection criteria, if he's able to go for the icons, he sure as hell going to. If he's that type who can get that shot at that, he's sure as hell going to. And those are, a lot of times it's kind of interesting. Those are the women who be the most single. Because have y'all noticed, like, those ordinary women, those average women, they usually have somebody. They usually have somebody. The ones who accept it. Now you get the ones who are tripping, and you get the ones who are tripping, thinking, "Oh yeah, I can get one of those top guys." Baby girl, no. And then you get the ones who are above average. They above average, but they still ain't at that top. It's like, baby girl, no. And then you get the guys who, I don't know, they fantasizing about getting that icon. That ain't gonna happen. I would just say everybody needs to stay in their lane. But that male selection criteria still exists regardless. It still exists. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I thought I'd talk about maybe, you know how I move. Spirit moves me sometimes. Maybe somebody needed to hear it. And remember, I got, when I first talked about it, a link for it is in the description box. I hadn't talked about it in a long time. So check it out. Now, you're probably saying, is Rom's plumbing fixed or something? Oh, that's fixed. But summertime, it's always something extra. So I said, let me just do this now. I could have jumped in the car and did this, but I said, nah, let me just do this now. And it was just one of those last minute things that came up that I just said, let me talk about the male selection criteria. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I just say, I'll get back with y'all tomorrow. All right? I'll think of something tomorrow. I don't know. A lot of times when I do these videos, I might not think about it until I hit the record button. All right? So anyway, I'll talk to y'all. Peace.